Hey Fitzy, thank you for joining us today. Let's start at the beginning. What was your childhood like growing up in Gravesend?
My childhood was absolutely fantastic. It was a total adventure. Like we, basically, as a child, we would just vanish, like from our parents, disappear. They'd have no clue where we went, which you wouldn't get away with that these days. But yeah, we was free to go scrumping and up the woods and sort of like have loads of accidents, play with matches. Just general bunch of boys being boys, really. Yeah, I'd go back there anytime.
Oh, were you creative as a child?
Yeah, I was quite creative. It was always down to my father coming in from work with a big wad of paper and lay on the floor in front of the TV, just drawing and drawing
Drawing
and drawing.
away.
Yeah, like I'm not even concentrating on what I was drawing. It was mainly spaceships I did come up with, so it
Oh,
was good fun that way.
okay. When you got older, you joined the army. What made you want to join, and was it everything you expected it to be?
Um, the army was quite an amazing experience. It gave me a different outlook in life, and it provided an avenue to meet people from different walks of life. So also, it was my father used to tell me about his life in the army and my grandfather's life in the army.
Did you feel pressured to join the army from them?
Not at all. I was so proud of them. The way they was really good, upright, sturdy people. So I kind of looked up to them, and
Oh,
by realizing that it done nothing but turn them into really good gentlemen, and I thought, yeah, so it's not a bad foundation. I'd like some of that.
and did it live up to your expectation of what you thought it would be?
It did, because the friends that I gained in there was, these are people that really have my back. Like I mean, we was like, it's very hard to meet people that has been through such an experience together, and it's a lifetime bond. It's hard to sort of like maintain pure perfect relationships. We argue our ups and downs, but regardless of all that, we're always there for each other. So that was something I walked away with.
And you travelled to many other countries?
Yeah, I mean, the travel was another, for me, kind of sneaky part of it, because I'd not really travelled too much in my life. Growing up, we was always either going to Ireland or some crazy Pontins thing. So, and I just really wanted to see the world. And then, like, basically, I just knew the regiment that I was joining was soon to go to Germany. And I thought, wow, I want to go to Germany.
Yeah.
And I also heard, a bit later they could go to Canada. And I thought, excellent. So to me, regardless of what the army stood for, I was just like, hey, I'm getting free travel. I'm starting to see the world.
Yeah.
So that became quite amazing in itself.
Yeah. What was it like to be in the desert for so long without TV and shops? How did you entertain yourselves to keep sane?
To be honest, this is where you start to understand the word of camaraderie, right? And improvisation. And so, I was pretty much on a tank with my commander, it's a long time. Deserts, they're beautiful when you first get to them. Like after an hour, they're actually quite boring. It's the seaside where the tide never comes in, and basically you just think, here I am. It's extremely hot. Survival is the main thing. You can quite happily give up TV because your body and your life depends on another kind of culture.
Yeah.
So things become really important. The comforts are gone. and now you're living off your wits. You're living in the elements.
And you're in survival mode as well, aren't
yeah.
you? Yeah.
Like, sometimes you're guided by the stars. Like, you know, so at the night time, it was so. The stars would be so clear, it was almost romantic. Like, so you'd be looking up thinking, wow, I am really connected to the heavens.
Yeah.
And it's another part of the earth where you don't expect to see something so vivid and clear. As for, you know, keeping each other amused, always food. We was always looking forward to our next meal, you know. So you'd be thinking, I am so bored. Who's going to cook this time? We don't really get to have a kitchen. Everything comes in a tin.
Wow.
I mean, like, you know, a tin of chocolate that you have to open.
A tin of chocolate.
A tin of chocolate with matches and boiled sweets. I mean, wow, what a treat. Right. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was quite funny. And then little games, you start getting a little bit bored. And I remember like looking at my commander, like we was able to also get fruit gums while we was out. Like we met the Americans while we was out there. And,
Okay.
that was really quite funny because I bought a box of fruit gums because there was no sweet shops. So
Did you ever play pranks on each other?
Well, it was pranks, but there was one day, like, see, the army's always about competition as well. You're always competitive. I mean, football, running, everything, a lot.
Yeah.
They just want the best out of you all the time. And even down to the point where I was looking at my commander and I was just like, I bet you can't do this. So I got the whole packet of these rock hard fruit gums, put them all in my mouth. And I'm chewing them and he's just like looking at me and say, you pig.
Yeah.
And then he gets competitive and he puts the whole packet in his mouth.
That's so funny. Yeah.
And then he's like, no, hold on. And he gets a little thing of Tabasco sauce and tips it in on top of the fruit gums. I'm thinking, that means I got to do it. So I've done the fruit gums on top of that. And I thought, I've got you now.
Yeah.
And I spot this tin of margarine on the side.
Oh,
like, this is all while the fruit gums is going off.
That's
like,
disgusting.
Yeah, so we know what's going on. And really, the rules are first one to throw up wins. Like, so this game really went turning. Like, you know, like even to the point where you're eating raw coffee. Like, yeah, and these fruit gums are still there all the way through it. Yeah, yeah, I do admit I did kind of lose that match, but you know, it was fun at the time. You know, it was another. That's how you use your time. You always improvise. You know, we even sort of like used to do fake pirate sketches. You know, sort of like you know, sort of make up stuff, and that's what they call skitsing as well. So, you know, you take the mickey out of people, and but it's always in good spirit.
Okay. On a more serious side, you've spoken in the past about 2 soldiers you encountered, and this had a massive impact on your life. Can you tell us about this experience?
I mean, so some of the things that I come across meeting these soldiers, especially I'll isolate it to really one of them, like who was an Iraqi prisoner of war, like that we captured.
Oh wow!
And his name was Saddam, out of all people. Like, and what was so life-changing about that was his, you know, the enemy, the guy that's, you know, given a chance might kill me.
Yeah.
And we're in this situation in war, so it's never about like killing people. It's about stopping them. Like, it's about you know, maybe you sort of like have to lock them up or disable them or something, but it's always about saving life as opposed to taking it. But this guy had been out in the desert for, you know, quite a bit of time, lost on his own, and he literally kind of looked relieved that, you know, we'd caught him. And I had to sort of like, you know, put the gun at him, and, you know, I couldn't afford to let
Take
him
any
through.
chances.
Yeah. So, and he's like looking at me, and he's like, Saddam Hussein.
Oh God.
And we was like, this is embarrassing. No. And he put his head in his hands like so. And we just thought, that is awful. We've been through something quite massive. Like, and we've got this guy here that, where we've not toppled this dictator, like, he's got to go back home and face the music. So I've almost felt ashamed for that second. It wasn't my fault that the war was, you know, in this state. Like, but you know, you feel humanity, you feel your heart, you know there's a bit more. And anyway, I saw this guy. He was just really, it's almost like he was dying as I was talking to him. And I said, food, do you want food? Have you eaten?
Yeah.
And he was like, not eaten for days. You know, it's all broken language.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, where do I start? And then I reached over and I got a can of fruit, opened it up, and you know, it's not my favourite, but I was happy to give it over. Like, and he just reached in this can of fruit, like eating it, like, you know, sort of like, and I just see, it's almost like watching his skin go from deflate to inflate, and it was like watching life go back into him. I thought, that's what it's about. You know, it's not the taking of life, it's to giving it back.
Yeah.
Like, and he just looked so relieved.
Yeah.
And then he kept saying, oh, take my watch, take my watch. It's like, not while we do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I must do something. And I'm like, no, just eat it, relax. Like, we're not going to kill you. Like, you know, just, or don't make us kill you. Don't do something stupid, please. I beg you. Like, because if it had lunged or something,
of course,
sorry, you got to take the shot. Like, so yeah, but he ended up sort of, you know, showing us pictures of his family back at home and everything else. Brings it all home.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, human to human. Like, what the hell are we fighting for? This ain't our problem. You're not my enemy. You're not even fit enough to fight me. So this is all wrong. You know? So that's when my life changed.
Yeah. So I was going to say the next question was, how has the army changed you as a person, and what is your perception on war today?
I mean, wars, they are a strange thing. I mean, if somewhere was invaded, so here's my take on where I'm at. Like, then I can do it. There's a chronology to it, so it'll make more sense. The first Gulf War, like, I so much more understood, like, because it wasn't so much about East versus West. It was, at the time, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. He just took a country by storm. Like, all right, there's probably vested interest around the world because Kuwait is the biggest oil place. You know, if Saddam Hussein takes this, and it was to be secured by him, there's nothing to stop him taking Saudi Arabia. Like, here you got, you know, a megalomaniac that could take over the entire East. What would that pose as a threat to, like, the world economy? You know, sort of like, he's literally sat on the fuel of the world.
Mm.
So there was another side of it. It was like, you know, you can't do that. You can't invade a place. So that's when the first Gulf War become the liberation of Kuwait. So, you know, that's really where it was at. The next part was to, you know, sort of like move into Iraq and somewhat destabilize his fighting power. Yeah, so he can't do that again. Right, but yeah, so that war come to an end. He still remained in power, like, but it was just like, I was relieved, like glad. Anyone would be relieved to sort of like hear war is over and go home.
Yeah.
Moons later, like the second Gulf War turned up. Like, I mean, the history about, you know, sort of like the Twin Towers being sort of like, you know, sort of like, you know, blown apart or like, you know, crushed to the floor. Like there was lots of unanswered questions about that. Who was responsible? Who done it? Like, and it opened up a new can of worms. Like, but nothing sent really like straight in amongst this. So we've got a problem with Bin Laden. They want this, like, you know, sort of terrorist. Like, also they got a problem with the Gulf at the same time, and it started becoming an East-West rivalry. Like, and the whole thing with, or the whole excuse, like, was weapons of mass destruction had been stashed by Saddam Hussein. So with Blair, like, sort of like saying, we know this, we have the information, like, that led into something so much worse, because I'd been there the first time around and I was like, there is no weapons of mass destruction there. You know, like, if there was, he would have used them on us.
True.
Like, you know, so that was really quite crazy. So this whole building of the Second Gulf War, like, that was really perplexing, because he's going into something that by this time I totally disagreed. I was like, well, what are you going there for? You've got no right in being there. There is no weapons of mass destruction. You've not found them. You've not seen anything on satellite, yet you're still going in. So in a way, it's like, it becomes blood for oil money. You know, if that's the case. But it come to the point where I disagreed so much so that I went with that march that become 500,000 people outside Parliament saying no.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, as the wars had gone on and progressed and started going into other areas in the East, I was like, no, what the hell? Like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. Like, I don't know all the ins and out facts, but I do know, like, from my gut and heart, I see the rest of it as wrong.
Yeah. Okay. What was it like leaving the army and adjusting to normal life? Did you find it a struggle?
I found when leaving the army, I really was at a loose end. I mean, for one, I wanted out because my gut was saying it's time. Like, you know, let's do the second part of your life.
Yeah.
Like, let's, you know, evolve again. Like, sort of like go back home, see your friends, like maybe start a life, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I left and I was very lost, like really lost, like, because from my regiment, none of my friends were local. Like,
so you lost that connection with
yeah,
them.
and there wasn't really the Facebook never existed. There was no real internet back then, you know, sort of like
No
so.
social media to get
Yeah,
in contact.
yeah. So
yeah.
and you know, sort of like mobile phones are just. I mean, they've been around for a very long time, but you know, the technology didn't really reach the public until sort of like, you know, let's say the 80s mobile brick phones were something, but the more accessible ones that started becoming mainstream where you could text does open up the world, but without everyone's number, like, you know, you're on your own.
Yeah.
So I knew, yeah, I've got my friends that I grew up with, but I was a completely different person to them.
Yeah.
Because they'd found a different path that I didn't really want to be on.
Yeah.
So once upon a time I did go down the drugs path, but I just knew I wanted out of that scene. That wasn't my bag. And it was like, you know, you got your choice. You can either go heading towards prison or education. So I always thought, well, deep down, I know somehow I got to be an artist. Just how do I start and where do I begin? Lucky enough, I had a friend that was saying, "Oh, I'm going to art school. Do you want to come down for the open day?" So I did, and that's what opened my door.
Okay. Also, where did your nickname Fitzy come from?
Funny enough, I mean, the name Glenn Fitzpatrick is, you know, sort of like Fitzy. Like, it's also an army thing as well. Like, nobody ever called each other by their first name.
You had nicknames for each other?
Yeah, you was either Rankin or Ski or, you know, sort of like, you know, Watson.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the whole thing. We were like real brothers, you know, sort of like knew each other in every way possible. But sometimes, many years later, you go, "What's your first name anyway?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you find it really hard to, you know, call your mate by the first name.
So everyone calls you Fitzy now?
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's a bit like Baz. All right, it wasn't the biggest change of name, but, you know, to say Barry as opposed to Baz, it just, no, that's not him. He's Baz, you know, or Bazarooney, you know, sort of like. So, yeah, Fitzy was stuck with me, and I still get people now saying, "What's your first name?"
That's true. That's true. When you were in your 20s, you had a life-threatening cyst on your brain, as well as having a broken leg from a traffic accident. Did these experiences change you and your outlook on life?
Yeah, these were two major life-changing experiences because I was still quite feral in a way. Like I needed taking down a peg or two. So, you know, I was still massively into, because of the culture at the time, you know, sort of like lots of raving, lots of drugs, like, you know, no shortage of these, like also getting stoned a lot. Yeah, it's a real sort of like, it was of its time. Really, it's, once again, you can have too much of a good time and you've got to know where to get off at this party. Yeah. Yeah, and because I'm kind of addictive personality in that way, I never really did know. So, ironic enough, one of the best things that ever happened to me was we discovered I had a cyst underneath the base of my brain on the carotid artery. So this was like, yeah, I kept getting stoned and I kept going, "I'm getting headaches, man. Like, this ain't right." And I kept seeing the doctor, like, and I went through all these prescriptions of drugs and everything else.
But you were so young as well at the time, weren't you?
Yeah. And it wasn't until I went for an MRI scan, like, it became apparent there was something, like, you know, underneath, you know, sort of like the, it's more like very cerebral underneath the brain, like, and this was a real thing. Because one, I felt like, see, I told you so.
Yeah.
And the other side was like, oh no. Like,
yeah. So you got the validation, but then you've got the fear.
And then I'm like, so this is how I'm going to die. Like, so, big hero falls to a bloody great zit. Like, lovely. I know a cyst is, it's the irony. A cyst is quite serious, depending on where it is. Like, I just thought, right, okay, I can't smoke no more. Like, something's got to be done. I've got to give up. Got to give up that life.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to go into surgery, and I'm going to wake up someone else. Like, I'm never going to be the same person. I can't be the hedonistic loony. Like, I got to somewhat calm it down now.
Yeah.
Engage brain. Like, so that helped. And like this was so life-changing. So it kind of ended a relationship with someone that sort of like it was like we was on two different planes after that. She still wanted to smoke and I didn't, and I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I've got to get away from this lifestyle and abandon it all.
Yeah.
Like, lucky I had art school to fall back on. Like, and this is when I started drawing.
Yeah, my next question is, how did you get into art, and did you ever study it? And if so, where did you study?
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to get a place down in like the foundation of Canterbury, and but I managed to stay there for 2 years doing the sort of like foundation, and then I just thought, well, I'm here now. It'd be crazy to move to London, try to further my education because I don't have London money. Like, so if I stay around the sort of like Canterbury area, and I can get into art school there, then life is a bit more affordable, and it was an extremely good art school.
So that helped as sort of coping mechanism.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Like, it really paved the way for me. So to sort of like push further with my studies, learn more, look at different artists, look at different cultures, and really put things into perspective.
So the surgery really did change your path in life, didn't it?
Yeah, monumentally.
Yeah.
Right, so it was just like, hey, you aren't going to be that guy anymore. You're going to get a second chance. You're going to be someone else.
Where did the broken leg come in?
So I kind of like so I recovered this like life-threatening surgery, and it was only about 4 months later.
Oh, it shouldn't be funny, should it?
No, it is pretty funny. I still giggle about it. Like, so, like, I was just a quick catch up with this, like why it happened. I went to an amazing, intense drawing program over in Belgium. Like, and
oh wow!
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, this course really was like the old masters. I mean, like drawing by candlelight. It's that romantic thing that you really wanted. And that's the time that I most ever felt like an artist.
Yeah.
And while I was out there, I sort of like kind of left one relationship and I kind of met this Belgian girl.
Ooh.
And it was a like lovely little sort of like, romantic relationship for a bit, right? But I one day decided, like, and this is while I was at art school, and everything was easy, like, and for some reason I was like, oh, I'm just gonna pop over to Ghent, Belgium, because Dover was not far.
Yeah.
So, like, me and my friend Jo, we decided we'd pop over, and I went into like visit this this girl, and Yeah, it was a great night. Stayed at hers the night. Sort of like, it's like, I think I'll go and get some breakfast. And me and her friend just basically said, "Oh, we're both going to get breakfast." And we walked down the road. It's a bit of a trod. Like, and so basically, we see this, got all our goodies, and we see the tram arrive. And we thought, oh, if we run across the road to get the tram, like, jobs are good. So, and we were at a zebra crossing, and as we run across, this car just come out of nowhere and took us both out. Like, so, and the really weirdest thing is, I flew through the air, and I thought, right, when you stop flying through the air, you're either going to be dead or knocked out. And I wasn't either when I stopped rolling. I kind of sat up and I looked at the car, and the car was smashed and dented at the front. I really couldn't believe it. I just looked at the car and I thought, God, you're one hard bastard, aren't you? And then I thought, right, get up. And as I went to get up, I realised my leg was facing the other way.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so I couldn't get up, and I was like, ah! And then I looked over at this girl, Vila, and she must have flew some, like, but yeah, she had no teeth. Like, yeah, no, sorry, I looked across the way and she just had a mouth covered in blood. And I was like, God. Oh my God. So, yeah, that really was another moment because, sort of, and this is quite integral as well. Basically, when I went to the hospital in Belgium, like, I had no one really talking my language, so I was on my own. And the doctor was like, "So what happened? Like, explain." Like, and we was having an awful time, and I just said, "Get me pen and paper," and I drew the scene, which is in the book. Like, so yeah, that's kind of thought I can pretty much muster up anything that I want. And that was like a jar in the brain as well, because I just thought, you're only drawing silly little things, yet you can create a whole world. Yeah. Do it. Stop being lazy. So this is where I really snapped into another gear. The drawing sort of like went from, not bad to, quite a lot better.
Yeah, we've been really successful with it, and you've had many exhibitions every year from 2009. What has been your favourite one to date, and is there somewhere you'd like to show your work that you haven't so far?
I always say, one of my favourite shows was one of my first solo shows, which is in Margate. That really was a lot to think of, and being able to get gallery space, and this is where something uncanny really happened. Like, so, well, I've been working on my project now for a little while. Like, it was in Margate, which this was the maiden voyage of all exhibitions. Like, so, I managed to come up with the the title "Symbols of Society," and it was whilst making various sculptures and drawings and everything else, I realised symbols of society, break it down in sort of like Morse code terms even, is SOS.
Yeah.
Like, and here I am making this controversial war-based show, which is thought-provoking. And I just remember one of the other drawings that I did, and I realised on this drawing I needed something to inform me of a place in time and why we was fighting for oil and everything else and how things have become. And one of the main drawings that I done was called Credits A, which had the numbers 999 on it.
Okay.
Like, so 999 meant 99.9 was the price of fuel at the time when I finished that drawing.
Right. Okay.
So it had a significance to where I was heading with the project.
Yeah.
And then SOS, 999 SOS.
Mm.
It was only when I walked in the room a bit later after writing this down, I looked again, and it was upside down. And it was SOS 666.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if it was an album or, record label and it's spinning around,
Yeah.
it will never be upside down. So it'll always be 999 SOS 666.
Yeah.
And that was really, really bizarre because, and this was no sort of like plan, but the Beatles had just remastered, even though it was the record company doing it, but they just remastered an album which fell on the date of the 9th of September, which is 9 and, on the 9th year.
Mm.
And I realised, here I am. My date exhibiting is also 999. So, very uncanny.
Did that lead you to your current project you're doing, a portrait project? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, my master project is always, some things have to relate, and how do you get from A to B? So the things that I was making in the past, making and drawing, related to what I would now call the armoury. So here I'm creating an exhibition by armoury. That means you can have all kinds of weapons in there, or, so if you go to the Wallace collection, their armoury, it's got like horses in it, it's got, swords, muskets, it's everything weaponized that's sort of like hidden but on display safely, And it made me realise that I created a piece, it was a petrol pump with a bayonet on the end of it. So that was a symbol of society. And believe it or not, it had to be kept safe because there's a great big knife on the end of it. I made a machine gun out of pens, it got to the point I made a rocket launcher. And I realised after a while that all this stuff with the chronology of drawing falling into the timeline of the Gulf War and relating to the history of everything has that feel of armoury about it. And to really throw it forward, I never wanted to really come off the project, but there's almost something that I needed to do, and I just really felt it necessary. And it wasn't a lockdown project. It just happened to fall in the timeline of it.
Okay.
So for everyone that was doing PPE art, which there was no shortage of artists going, you know what, I'm going to draw face masks on, and I'm thinking, God, how original. I just thought I need to turn this on its head.
Yeah.
And I want to reach out on a positive thing, reach out people, make them feel part of the community, part of something bigger.
Yeah.
And it was, I also had this 500 figure in my head. I just like the thought of drawing 500 people.
That's a lot of people to draw.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I can do this. I've got this. I'm going to do 500 portraits, no matter what. And then it kind of dawned on me after a while, looking back at where I'd gone from, how does this relate to, the armoury in itself? The armoury is always something about something bigger than me. And then I realised there was roughly 500 people in my regiment.
Oh, right, okay.
So the number of significance means...
It all links up.
Yeah, I've created a regiment of drawings that is almost equivalent of where I've come from on this journey, which actually in retrospect now, like not only have I sort of like created weapons, I've created my own, you know, sort of like my own, you know, my own regiment.
Yeah.
It was just like, wow. Like, so things have a way of working themselves out even when you're not concentrating on them. But I always knew at the end of this drawing project, with all the empty pens and markers and everything else I got, I need to make another sculpture, which no doubt will be weaponized. But this, it will all go back to the armory.
Yeah. So. As well as being an artist, you're also an author. You've released a book. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah. Arts and Minds is my book, which took me quite a few years to make. I think it was like bit by bit. I was just doing a page every day, and I just thought, if I'm going to share my story, which people was like, look, whatever you've done, like you really need to share this because it's just interesting.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I don't really want to do a book, and I don't want to be in the sort of like kind of super warry people things. I'm not the hero of anything. Like, it was just, let's make a book about a journey, how life encounters you and you get from A to B. So how you go from growing up to being a soldier to being an artist. And I felt that would always allow me to express and share what I've seen, what I've done, how we can all learn from something, you know. And I decided every page has to be a different story. So, like, it was one drawing with text around it. Like, that meant rather than describe the entire area that I'm in, you know, half a chapter later, we're finally getting to the story. I've just drawn, you know, the backdrop, the narrative, the view, and now I'm adding the text just to sort of like ice that story.
Yeah.
So it fell into place that way. So I was able to, you know, give random stories. Like, so some are funny, some are sad, some are, you know, about the surgery, the war, and some of them are just dead stupid. But so stupid it's amusing, and I thought these are moments.
It's a great book,
moments that can't be missed, you know, like throwing a tin of sugar into a fire, you know, like, and then you realise that actually it's a bomb and you got to run off, like, and it was a way of sort of like diarising my life as well, and I kind of left it almost open-ended for, you know, maybe more.
Okay. You're also, like I said, you're into art and you've made sculptures in the past. Where do you source your materials from?
Most of my materials are recycled. So the first machine gun that I made, like it was just like from 10 years of drawing and all the pens, I never threw them out. So I've just
just collect them and made a machine gun.
Yeah. I didn't know I was going to make a machine gun until the Charlie Hebdo story. Like, and when the terrorists like shot the place up with you know, specialist rifles and everything else, I thought, this is where I am. I need to do something.
Yeah.
I need to address
machine gun.
Yeah. And still make something that still says the pen is mightier than the sword, or even a machine gun. So that come out of it. You know, the other part was, for some reason, I needed to get my hands on petrol pumps because the war for oil. And, you know, of all things, I I went on eBay to get the petrol pumps. And funny enough, I had to go all the way to Basildon to pick them up. Like, and, you know, I just thought, oh, God damn it, I'm going to have to get a deal here.
Yeah.
And when I turned up to this guy's place to buy these petrol pumps, and I had it in mind I was going to knock him down quite a few quid. I knocked on this door and this bear come out, and I was like, oh my God, just whatever he asked for, pay. Like, so I bought the petrol pumps, took them home. They was disgusting. They were so bad I had to buy, you know, a few litres of Sillet Bang, gas mask myself, and sort of like clean them all up in the bath of my flat. Like, I mean, this was a horrid job, but I managed to do it. And so I cleaned all these petrol pumps that still had a smell. Now, I will tell you something, like, my bath had never been so clean in all of its life. I mean, even the grouting was perfect white. So that was very positive. But once again, these materials I looked at was the ready-mades, and I thought, these are an interpretation.
Yeah.
And how do I make this become a narrative to what I'm doing? And it was only by having a bayonet on the end of this petrol pump. It felt like a weapon. It felt like bayonet drill. And funny enough, when you put the thing into the car to fill up, I'm just like, whoa, this is association, like, you know, at its finest. But yeah, nothing was ever like bought. It was all reclaimed materials, or, you know, as much as, yes, I bought stuff, stuff online, but no, it wasn't bronzes or, you know, castings or anything else. This was get your hands on stuff and get it together.
What would you say is the biggest challenge of being an artist?
The biggest challenge of being an artist is actually being an artist, and and accepting you're an artist, and that's really, at what point do you take that on board? Like, because the moment you give your life into it, like, and I will also say, if it's ingrained in you so much and you can't escape it, it's a bit like coming out, because it is what you are, it's what you do, and it doesn't matter how much you try and get away from it, it'll always draw you back in.
Yeah.
So you might as well accept it.
Yeah. In your book, it says one of your favourite phrases is "the pen is mightier than the sword." Can you explain why you like this saying so much?
Well, you can do so much, you know. You can literally, you know, it's up to that signature to, like, sanction a war. You can get, you know, a peace treaty, like 2 guys signing something, like, I mean,
and that's
really?
it. It's not,
yeah, like, but also by reaching out via text, which the pen creates, you know, you can verbalise with, you know, the rawest form of material. It's quite a deadly piece of kit if you think about it.
Yeah. What has been your favourite art piece you've made so far, and why?
I keep changing, but
Machine gun.
yeah, it really is. I mean, it really is the symbol of society itself. I mean, because it's travelled really well and it's been very well exhibited, and some people, like, you know, they come across me and say, "Oh, who are you?" And I'm like, "Fitzy," and they're like, "Oh, and you're," and I'm an artist, and they're like, "What do you do?" And I just basically say, "I put a bayonet on the end of a petrol pump," and they're like, "You're the petrol pump guy." So yeah, if I'm branded as petrol pump guy, it means it's worked. It's done exactly what it's done. So a lot of people do know me as that, and it's always been. One of my friends also said, you know, this is a good artist friend. he said, that is probably your seminal piece.
Mm.
So, yeah, I knew the moment I made it, the hair stood up on the back of my neck and my gut, like, said,
this is something special.
That summarises you.
Yeah. Oh. You started drawing in black and white at first and then changed your style to colour. Can you explain the reason for this?
Yeah, for a long time I was drawing and painting, and it's very easy to be searching for something, like, but lose your way at the same time.
Yeah.
And I really thought I need to go back to basics. I need to understand the drawings that I'm doing. By doing that, I need to concentrate on the studies. Like Leonardo would do a very meticulous drawing of an underdrawing before he paints. So upon X-ray you would see a perfectly executed picture. And I was just like, right, I need to know what the underdrawings communicate to me. And at first I started drawing this way, which
was it intentional just to draw black and white?
Yeah. I thought I need a black and white period in my life. I need to see where this heads, and by sort of like really engaging on just tone and shadow, various mark making to give emphasis as where I'm going, but to keep to the discipline of black and white. That taught me so much, because it always led me to question the next thing. I've come this far with a drawing. What if I put some white in it, or what if I overlaid a burnt umber or something? But it's like, no, don't just of its time let something be understood.
Yeah.
Make it, do the chronology of something. So.
Would you say it's easy being an artist in London, or is it a struggle?
It is a struggle being an artist in London. To be honest, London's not cheap, but like anything, it does open a lot of doors. Everything is pretty much on your doorstep. In terms of inspiration, there is no shortage of it around the area. I guess, like us all, sometimes we're rich, sometimes we're poor. But
do you think there should be more funding towards the art community?
Oh yeah, I mean, by all means, I think it's a great thing, because so many things come out of art. It changes people's perceptions, or it's very engaging. You can love or hate it, but it will always lead you to question what it is.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd want to change about the art community? Or has it changed over the years? Have you seen it change?
Oh, I mean, everything is always changing,
Yeah.
It's always down to what government's in power at the time. So
yeah.
It's, sometimes there's good funding, sometimes there's bad funding, sometimes there's no funding. Yeah, and what I'd like to see is, the arts to be encouraged so much more in schools.
Yeah.
Because, the future generation are going to design stuff like we have, and it's important that. If drawing is a foundation, it's still a foot in the door to the next level.
Yeah. What advice would you give somebody who wanted to be an author or an artist?
If you really want to be an author, just keep writing. Don't do the I'll do that later story and come back to it. Have a really small little sketchbook. The moment something pops in your mind, even if it's one word, write it down. There's been many a time I've written one word on a Rizzler and thought, I need that for later, because it's only by talking to other people that the stories fall out, because it's all stored there somewhere. You just got to open that box.
Yeah.
In terms of being an artist, don't think of the money, just be an artist.
Do you have any other hobbies that you like to do?
I mean, I love my cycling. I adore my walking. I can't walk around Greenwich Park enough.
I love Greenwich Park.
It's an amazing place. I pretty much, I feel guilty if I don't do it 4 mornings a week. Right, so, and that's an hour's walking every morning. Right, so it really, I'd seize up if I didn't do it. Like,
yeah,
like I say, just, with everything, like, just don't worry about the finance of something. It's a struggle. Like, we'd all love to be born rich artists, but sometimes in struggle is ingenuity. Like, that makes you think outside the box so much more.
Yeah. Well, we've come to the end now. So thank you so much for your time today. And is there anything you'd like to say or add to our readers?
Well, yeah, I'd love to say to everyone, sort of like, just be positive.
That's a good thing to say. Okay, thank you.